AM 630. WMAL.
637 on WMAL. Neiman and Wilson with you. Lanny Davis is on the line, former Clinton White House Counsel. Good morning. Nope, we don't have Lanny right now. I'm sorry.
He'll be there.
I saw him on there. But that was all. You know, President Bush is going to the White House today. It's the unveiling of his portrait at the White House. Barack Obama often talked about George Bush through the years. Talked about him a lot in the last couple of years. Continues to blame George Bush for a lot of the problems that he has right now. I just wonder how that will go. I think George W. Bush will handle it well. I think the president will probably handle it well. But it's got to be somewhat awkward.
Well, it does because, hardly an hour goes by that in the White House briefing room when Jay Carney is holding court or when the president's out on the campaign trail, hardly an hour goes by that they don't look back and say, well, remember, it was all horrible problems that presented me by the previous occupant of this office. Now, he doesn't ever name George W. Bush by name, but there's always a lot of references to things we inherited. And so, he comes to the White House today, and look, I think all of that will be sort of ignored, and everybody understands that's the way the game's played, that the presidents understand what other presidents have gone through. But if there was ever an example in my mind of a guy who sort of did it right when he left office, it's George W. Bush, because he has held his fire. There are no doubt. He's been slammed and beaten up, and he never once wanted to come to a microphone and talk. In fact, I can't recall many times that he's been even seen publicly since he left. He's really has respected the office of the president, says that the current president deserves his silence, which he has gotten.
Lanny Davis is on the line. No doubt you're late this morning because something that George W. Bush did to make sure that your phone call wasn't connected in time. Is that right, Lanny?
It's actually the vast right-wing conspiracy that Hillary Clinton talked about constantly invades my telephone system.
Is that right? So how do you think this meeting will go between Bush and the president today? You think it's awkward at all, especially since the president, kind of blames the president for the current economy, the former president, that is?
Well, I wish the relationship were better. As you know, President George Bush and I were close friends at Yale College. We remain close friends through his presidency. He's a great person, and he ought to be a wise advisor to President Obama, even though they disagree on politics. And it's a little bit sad that President Obama hasn't consulted with him more. I know that he consulted with President Clinton during his presidency, and as you know, President Clinton grew very close to his dad, Bush 41. So I hope that President Obama does reach out and talk to President Bush, because there's a lot of wisdom that any president gains, regardless of his politics.
One doesn't get the sense, though, that's likely to happen, Lanny.
No, I hope so. I really think the reason that Barack Obama has a good chance for re-election is the likability factor. He is a good guy. He's got a great jump shot. He's a good family man.
Well, that's important for a president.
I wish I had his jump shot. And I think he and George Bush on various levels ought to be good friends. They actually are both good people, and I have said many, many times my great affection for the great human being that George Bush is. And so Barack Obama really ought to get down to the human level, maybe go out and throw some baseballs. I think George Bush's baseball throwing is a lot better than President Obama's, and they could kind of find each other's athletic strengths. Maybe Obama can teach George the president to do a jump shot.
Yeah, well, they don't. Yeah, Americans don't want jump shots. We want to be able to throw a baseball. They want a job.
That's right.
So we want jump shots into jobs. That's good.
Right. Let me ask you a question. Remember how it was not long ago where the Obama administration, every time a microphone was open up over there, they'd be talking about the businessmen who had them corporate jets. Do you remember that, Lanny?
Yeah.
Well, did you know that the president reauthorized the Export-Import Bank, and included in the reauthorization is $1 billion in subsidies for jet manufacturers who make corporate jets?
Now listen, you know that Emerson said consistency is the hobgoblin of men's minds. And I never understood the word hobgoblin, but it doesn't sound real good.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's
you're
it?
not going to defend this at all.
I am not going to defend it at all.
Yeah. The president has a good jump shot, Brian.
But listen, the serious point I hope we can talk about this morning is the unbelievable contrast between Tom Friedman and the New York Times on Sunday, who the president quite admires, calling on the president to stop the nonsense of attacking Mitt Romney on Bain and attack. There are some quotes from John Heilemann in the New York Magazine that are positively disgusting from senior Obama campaign officials about the personal characterizations and demonizing strategy of the Obama campaign. Tom Friedman says what I say, what Cory Booker says, and which Cory Booker and I got excoriated by the blogosphere for saying, which is, amazingly, Barack Obama, you have a great story to tell, or maybe a good story to tell, not a great one, but a good one. Tell your story positively, and don't go down to the level of attacking Mitt Romney personally, because it's going to rebound against you, not among your base. I'm in the base, I'm going to vote for you. You got to go for that magic 10% who are the persuadable voters. And the contrast between what Tom Friedman said versus the senior command right out of the White House using the F-bomb about what they're going to call Romney is the best way for Barack Obama to lose this election rather than win the election.
Well, I think the attacks on Bain Capital have already sort of fallen very flat. I think that they're moving on because I think they've discovered that doesn't have much traction.
Well, it has traction as an example, if it's accurate, of a poor business decision by Mitt Romney. But they have to, if they're going to be accurate, talk about all the positives, like Sports Authority, and all the other positive decisions that equity investment companies make, especially in small business.
They also have to be ready for the counter argument, which is, okay, let's compare my record of investment over at Bain to your investment in things like Solyndra.
You know, I actually find Solyndra more troubling than Bain because Solyndra involved public money.
Exactly.
At least the people who are investing in Bain, people in the equity investment business figure that 2 or 3 out of 10, they're buying distressed companies on the verge of bankruptcy.
Lanny, are you going to vote for Mitt Romney?
Have you changed your party registration, Lanny?
This is very, this is very consistent. If the Obama people are listening to me, I'm infuriating them because I'm disagreeing with the tactics. I agree with Barack Obama's policies. I support Obamacare. I support the stimulus. I support gay marriage. They want me to agree with their tactics, which is to sling mud. Tom Friedman says, wait a minute, you don't want to defend your own president's record because you want to sling mud. Friedman and I think Obama has a good record. The debate here is about tactics. It's not about policies. And it's amazing that they get angry with people who disagree with them about tactics while their boss's policies are good policies that ought to be defended.
All right.
It's quite ironic.
Lanny Davis, always good to have you.
Thank you.